Hey friends, welcome to my garden. Are you looking to build a raised bed to grow some vegetables or flowers in, but don't know where to start? Well, in this video, I'm going to show you how I make raised beds for very little money and using pretty much what I find laying around my property. So let's check it out. So this is the area that I'm planning to build a couple of raised beds. Plan on building one here and building one over here, and then probably just gonna be growing some flowers in them or some kind of edible that the animals won't want to get into. I do have some rocks outlining an area that I've been mulching, but the weeds are creeping in, going past the rocks, so I'm gonna have to do some work ripping them back, mulching heavily, and putting some cardboard down to help keep those weeds from coming back. So off we go to get some mulch. Alright, so I'm down at my local town mulch pile, and I asked permission from them earlier this week if I could take from this pile for personal use, and they said go right ahead. So I started coming down here with my pitchfork and whatever boxes and crates I could find, and we fill it up with mulch and bring it home. So let's get it. Alright, so I just finished filling my bins with mulch and loading them into the car. You don't want to use bins that are too big, because once they're filled up with mulch, they're pretty heavy and hard to lift into your car. You want to make sure you go through and pick out any big sticks like this and just get rid of them. There's going to be some in the piles, but if you dig deep into the pile, it's pretty well broken down and full of worms and all that good stuff. I'm sorry, but if worms make you squeamish, then gardening is not going to be for you, my friend. All right, let's get this mulch home. Okay, so I have my mulch back in my house, and next thing I'm going to be doing is pulling all of these rocks off of this bed and digging in and ripping out as much of these weeds as possible by hand. I'm also going to use my shovel to dig up some of the weeds, and it doesn't have to be perfect, because the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to layer down cardboard pretty heavily to prevent any weeds from growing where I'm laying the mulch, because if you just lay down mulch like I did here last year, the weeds will just eventually grow up into the mulch. But if you lay down the cardboard, it'll prevent the weeds from popping up for at least a few years, and eventually that cardboard will just get broken down by the worms and bugs and turn into soil. Alright, so I've been scraping back the sod in the area that I want to make all wood chips and build my raised beds. I've been using the shovel and kicking it with this just to get underneath it just a little bit, and then we scrape it like so, and you get it up. It's starting to rain now, so I'm gonna have to take a break, and I might not finish this project until later tonight or tomorrow. I still got some more scraping to do with the shovel, and I'll do some hand weeding as well. It doesn't have to be perfect, because I'm going to be covering it pretty heavily with cardboard. I scraped back the grass and weeds as best as I could with the shovel and ripped some up by hand or with a hand trowel. And now the next step that I'm going to do is I'm going to cover this area with cardboard before covering that with wood chips. If you notice this area over here, I didn't dig it up as much as I did the other area, and that's because I did something special over here earlier in the season where I inoculated this bed with mushroom mycelium to grow a variety of mushrooms called wine cap stropharia. And I did that all the way down this whole area here, and I'm hoping that by the end of this season the mycelium will be established. As you can see, it's pretty thick in some areas, so I want to leave this little patch alone. I'll still cover it with cardboard and fresh wood chips. Excited to see what happens. These mushrooms could pop up anywhere. They might pop up a little bit in the lawn, they might pop up behind the fence in the garden, just don't know. And I'm excited to see what happens with those, and I'll definitely keep you posted in a future video about that. All right, let's lay down some cardboard. Okay, so I have my cardboard laid down, and it's starting to rain on me a little bit, so I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to complete this before the storm hits, but I'm going to keep working out here until the rain starts really coming down. Right now it's just a little bit of a drizzle. So I finished laying down the newspaper on top of the cardboard and started building some rock beds. When I complete that, I'm going to fill around it with mulch and then fill the inside with some potting soil. It's a lot easier to do if you have larger rocks. I sort of used up all of my larger rocks on this bed, and then over here my rocks are getting a little smaller and a little more challenging to work with. So what I'm doing is I'm doubling them up like so and leaning them in towards where the bed's going to be and the soil's going to be, and I'm just going to go with it like that because I could always replace some rocks after I fill it with soil if I feel like I want to go a little higher. It's a lot easier when I did these beds because I used these fake stones. They come 3 stones per piece, and this bed was so easy to put together. I had right here, I just used 6 pieces, put it together nice and easy. I'll put some links to these stones in the description below so you can check out what I'm talking about if you feel like buying them instead of using what you have laying around like I'm doing here, which is a lot more work, but I'm getting there. All right, so I got the rocks finished and I like the way it came out. It'll serve as a good base for my raised beds. Once it's filled with dirt and there's mulch all around it, then I could continue building up these walls with some more rocks as I see fit. All right, so let's start with filling around it with mulch, and then the last step will be to fill in the beds with some topsoil. All right guys, so I finished mulching around the raised beds and I like the way it looks. Went pretty heavy on the mulch, about 2 to 3 inches, and you can no longer see the cardboard or newspaper outside of the beds. Next, we're going to fill the beds with some potting soil. I picked up some potting mix from Home Depot recently, and I'm going to be using that. I choose not to use soil that has synthetic fertilizers in it. I try to grow as organic as possible with no pesticides or synthetic fertilizers. The soil that I'm going to be using today is called Nature's Care Organic Raised Bed Soil. It's by Miracle Grow, and you know, they make a lot of products that have synthetic fertilizers, but they're getting better and offering a lot of options that don't have them. This one, for instance, has like bone meal and alfalfa meal and earthworm castings and kelp meal. It's a lot of the good stuff that I approve of. All right, so let's get this soil in the beds. All right, guys, that's it. Raised beds are done. Each bed took 1 bag each of the potting soil that I bought, and each bag of potting soil was 1.5 cubic feet of soil. And that's the only expense that I had for building these beds today. Everything else I got for free from nature. I'll still tweak these beds and make them look a little prettier in spots where I can. Like over here, I'll put another rock and dress it up. I got some more little rocks over there. And keep making little tweaks. If I find some pretty rocks, I might swap one out. For now, I'm thinking we're just gonna get some flowers from maybe our local nursery and dress it up. And next year, I might end up doing some more strawberries like I did with the beds over here. It was a lot more work building these beds with small rocks. Definitely a lot easier if you have larger rocks to do it with. But I encourage you to just do it with whatever you have, even if you're just doing it with some logs that you have laying around. That'll be just fine. All right, guys, if you found that helpful, give this video a thumbs up, and love to hear what you think in the comments below. There'll be links to the products that I use in my garden. Hope you enjoyed my new addition to the garden. I look forward to showing you what it looks like planted out in my next garden tour, which will be in a couple of weeks. Have a nice day. Stay healthy, friends.